Hello. Hello, hello, hello. So we're back. This is day 4. And for those who are here for the first time, I'm Antonia. Welcome back to Always on Mute. No, this is Antonia's Blissful Corner. I just I just recorded a video on Always on Mute. But anyway, I'm Antonia. This is Antonia's Blissful Corner, and today is day 4 of my 25-day go live on YouTube journey. At first, I was saying it was a challenge, but it's not a challenge. It is a journey. And this idea was sparked when I was watching a Think Media podcast episode last weekend, and the guest was Michael Zuber. And Michael Zuber spoke about his journey and how at one point he decided to go live every day for 50 days. Now, the number 50 just seemed like a full year to me. And so I decided to cut it in half and do 25. I'll see how the first 25 days go. And then, if anything, I will extend it to 50. But today is day 4. And today we're going to talk about silence and how silence speaks louder than words. So let's dive in. Um, I've always been the quiet one in the room. And, like in some respects, I still am. I mean, depending on the person, I will be very talkative. And if you're not that person, then I won't be. There are times when I'll be having a nice um, animated conversation with someone. And if someone decides to join that I'm not familiar with, I either walk away or, well, first I stop talking. And then if they're there for too long, then I walk away. Um, it's just how I am. I'm working on myself, right? But that's how it is for us introverts. Like silence for us is actually a language. I think that there's so much that can be said without saying words. I think that there are people who are very uncomfortable with silence, but introverts are not. We actually love silence. We like to talk to people, but we don't really care for small talk. So unless you're coming to us with a conversation that is deep, we're not interested. And it's not that we're being rude. It's just that, like we like meaningful conversation. Hey, Kay! I'm paying attention to the chat tonight. um, but yeah, we do not care for like surface level conversations. And um, I think a lot of people actually misunderstand our silence for a myriad of things. People think that we're sad or depressed or antisocial, and it isn't. Sometimes we just don't feel like talking. Um, I mean, if there is a real conversation, we'll chat. But if you're going to talk about the weather or your weekend that we're not even interested in, later, sister. It is what it is, right? The reality of it is our energy is our presence. Like we walk into the room and we're seen. We don't want to be seen, but because of the energy that we have, this is what it is, right? Um, our energy, it speaks for us, right? We can communicate with our eyes or with movement. And sometimes, I mean, the thing is, I know for me, right? I actually can have a poker face, but then sometimes I'm not aware of the fact that my face looked very annoyed. I I'm not working on it. At one point I tried, but sometimes it's difficult. Like when someone is behaving in a certain way, I think for me the best thing to do is to walk away. Otherwise, it's like on my face. Like I start make my face get. I can't. Like I apologize. I do apologize for my facial expressions, but it is what it is, right? The power of pause. So silence isn't emptiness. It's space. It basically is space for us to process. We process in silence. We reflect and we respond with clarity. Sometimes, if we pause, so if we're having a conversation and we pause, sometimes some people might think that we're not interested, but that's not the case. We're actually considering a meaningful response. Because sometimes like people can, just say something off the cuff, but for me, I like to really and truly think about what it is that I'm going to say. Like if somebody asks me for my opinion, I'm not the type to just basically like just say whatever, right? I like to think about it because I'm going to tell you what it is that I would like to hear if it were me, right? And so for that, sometimes I tell people, if you don't want to hear the truth, then do not ask me, because I'm not here to sugarcoat anything. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. If you want to hear what you want to hear, then record yourself and play it. Play it back to yourself, because that's the only way that it'll work. Um, a couple weeks ago, I actually said to one of my colleagues slash friend, um, I kind of told her that she had gained weight. But we're Jamaican, so sometimes it may come off a bit harsh. But we understand each other because that's how it is in our community. I mean, here in the house, mommy, it will either say "God, your maga," or she say "you get fat," and like I'm accustomed to it. Like so we will be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so mean," but it isn't. I feel like sometimes there isn't a nice way to say some things that is the truth, right? So I told my colleague friend that, um, because when she called over, like one of her colleagues, well, someone that works with her, she was kind of like, hemming and hawing. I said, look, I'm not here to basically tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you the truth. Because the reality of it is sometimes we don't get to see, we don't see ourselves. We see ourselves through other people's eyes. Like unless someone say to us certain things, we really don't consider it. And the reality of it is, these days, it is just so difficult sometimes to keep on track because there's a lot going on. And so sometimes some people eat when they're sad, they eat when they're depressed, they eat when they're happy, they eat when they're sad, they eat when they're nervous. And next thing you know, they're like three sizes bigger, and we start to cry. And the reason why I was able to actually have that conversation with her is because I went through that journey where I woke up one day and I couldn't fit any of my clothes. And when I tell you, I bawled man, I didn't cry, man, bawled. What happened? I was like, my clothes don't fit. And the older I get, the worse it is. So my mission is to basically just stay, I guess, like maintain. But I feel like health and wellness go hand in hand, because it's not just the gaining of the weight, it's the way that you feel. Like some foods can actually bring you down. And my thing is, it's like, I don't want to hear my sister whining all the time. So I'm gonna tell her, girl. So this week I had to fight her. They had snacks in the office and she went and grabbed a Kit Kat. I had to fight and take that Kit Kat from her. She managed to pop one in her mouth and the other one fell. And I said, at least you got one. But anyway, that's that on that. Silence for us sometimes can be a way for us to protect our peace. Choosing silence isn't weakness or avoidance. It's a decision to preserve our inner calm when noise offers a no value. Because sometimes people just like, I mean, I'm at this place now where I can actually be in a very crowded room where it's loud. And I feel as if like I've learned how to kind of like silence it. I've learned how to zone in and basically ignore everything that's around. And I think that that's one of the powers that we have. Some people are good at it. Some people are working on it. I'm still working on it, but I feel as if like I'm getting there. Um, Silence in relationships, whether it's at work or play, home or church. Sometimes people can really misunderstand. Like, are you okay? Right? Sometimes our quiet presence, it builds trust and depth more than constant talking could ever. And me living in this house, um, I see where sometimes it can be uncomfortable for some, at least used to be, not anymore. Because there are times when I know that it's like, I think my mood sometimes cause tension, at least used to, because I'm better at it now, and they are understanding me now. But there were times when I would just get quiet and I get the, are you okay? Are you sure? And the more people ask, are you okay? The more annoying it gets, because it's like, I'm fine. After the fifth time, then I'm not okay, because now you done bothered me. Because now you done messed up my peace. And now I'm not okay. so so silence in relationships is not bad. Like I'm not, I can't speak for all introverts, right? But I feel like for the most part we are indeed okay. And if you ask us one time when we say we're okay, just throw up your hand and walk away. Like if you want to get an attitude, we're like, all right, fine, I won't bother you anymore. Okay. Like, like we won't take offense. At least I won't. Because at least then I have you out of my hair. So I can basically have that time for myself. But sometimes we need that silence in order to recharge, especially like after a long day. I was speaking to a colleague in the office, and she was telling me that, sometimes when she goes home in the evening, especially after being in the office for from like 7 in the morning until whenever you get home, sometimes we just don't want to talk. Sometimes we just want to have some tea and just find a corner and not do anything, right? And she said that she finds it difficult because after her mate cooks, um, she doesn't have it in her to say, I don't wanna. And I'm like, girl, let me give you my book. Because the reality of it is, it isn't fair for them, right? Because then they don't know that you need this space. They don't know that you're basically struggling and that you need to find a charger so that you can replenish and basically be good again. Sometimes it's 5 minutes. It all depends on the situation. But sometimes even 30 minutes. Sometimes 30 minutes can do wonders for us. So silence in relationships is needed, and I think it's healthy to have the conversation to let people know, because it isn't fair if the other person don't know that your battery's running out and you're about to basically flip. Because by the time you flip, it's too late. Silence can um silence can actually also be healing. Moments of solitude allow the heart to rest, intuition to speak, and wisdom to rise from stillness. I love going outside for walks. I love going to the park. A few years ago, I never experienced going outside and enjoying nature, because at that time I was heavily into running, or if I was walking, it was power walking while listening to soca, and it was basically hurry up and go outside, get it done, and come back home. And I'm grateful that I've learned how to basically pause and be still with myself so that I can hear. I love to go to the park and talk to the birds and the turtles and watch the squirrels. And it's amazing, right? Because for me, I like to call it cardio therapy, whatever, like whatever it is for that day. But for me, being in nature is very therapeutic. It's a way for me to disconnect from people, and to not even have conversations except with myself and God's creatures, right? Because the reality of it is, and I love when I go to the park and I go to the turtles and be like, "Good morning, it's me," because I'm telling myself that I'm speaking to them so that they can learn my voice, so that when I'm there, they know that I come in peace, not with food. Because sometimes some of the geese and the ducks will come around and they're like, and I'm like, no, 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 we don't do that. Because one of the things that grinds my gears is when I see people feeding them, because I'm like, no, leave them alone. Because one day they're gonna start attacking, like, where my food at? Especially these animals in New York. Mm-mm. So yes, um balancing, um I mean, like, so no, yes, so silence heals. And for those who are not quiet people, for those who are on the extroverted side, try that. Try to just sit with yourself one day. I know it's hard, because I know that you need to have somebody beside you talking, but it is a wonderful thing when you can sit with yourself, be still, and just listen. No music, no television, no other person to talk to, just you. I don't know why people are so uncomfortable with themselves. Why you can't just be quiet? Why can't you just be with yourself? It is a wonderful thing. It really is. Anyway, excuse me. Balancing silence and voice. Learning when to speak up and when to let silence do the talking. That right there is true confidence. I'm usually not the one in any meeting. I don't care who's running the meeting. I'm never the one raising hand and all of that. Like the only time I start to basically offer my input is when it's time to go and y'all taking too long. That's when I'll be like, okay, ABC and all it's in. Can we go now? um, it's because sometimes some meetings can be long-winded, especially if there isn't a clear agenda. So I am always the one sitting and observing, doodling on paper and counting down the time in my head. Sometimes I zone out and sometimes I don't even hear what was going on. And I am sometimes just hoping that it isn't anything important because sometimes I miss a whole session. I'm present, but I'm not present because I'm over here basically choosing to silence my voice and silence the noise. Um, yeah. So I'm grateful for this journey because I'm learning how to manage. I'm learning how to use my voice more, but I'm also still quiet, if that makes sense, right? Um, Me being on here is my way of basically being expressive. Like I said before, the nice thing about this is I'm talking to myself, but not really because you're here listening. And the wonderful thing about that is I get to basically express myself without interruption because sometimes when not everyone know how to have a conversation. Sometimes people listen to respond, and then sometimes people listen like they tune in to hear, so that they can offer feedback after they process it. And introverts are those people who basically we listen so that we can offer feedback. We're not saying like we're waiting for you to basically stop for 6 seconds so we can talk. No, we wait until you finish the thought, then we process it and then offer feedback. Um, for me, I remember like one of my um, bestie, I think it was last year, because as I'm basically growing, I'm learning more about myself and my behaviors. Now my behaviors have been what they've always been, but now they make sense to me. Now it makes sense to me why I get agitated with small talk. And I'll never forget somebody that I care deeply for. One day we were sitting and having a conversation. Actually, it wasn't even a real conversation. Because for me, I would rather not have a conversation than to have small talk. Small talk is draining as heck. And when I realized that they were just basically like just trying to force themselves to have a conversation, I actually felt bad afterward, but I was like, is this small talk? And they were like, yes. And I was like, I'm not interested. I don't like it. And I didn't, in the moment, I didn't really care for how I sound because I know that it sound mean, but it was just annoying. It was just so annoying. Um, but I do think that sometimes our silence is misunderstood by a lot of people, because they do not understand it. People don't understand like how could you sit there like for hours on end and not speak. And the reality of it is we can, and we do, and we thrive doing that, right? Um, I mean, right now, like I'm thriving in silence because it's just me and me. Mommy's in her room. Mommy's in her room. My office door is closed right now, but usually when I'm home, because usually when I'm home, and if I'm not working like doing my 9 to 5, then I'm doing something like I'm working on one of my personal projects, and then I don't take for granted that my mom is here, and that our days and hours are limited, so I will basically shut down everything and go sit and watch television with her because she loves to watch like Matlock and Perry Mason and some game shows. And there have been times when mommy and I could be in this, heck, we could be sitting on the same couch on either end and not speak, right? Because she's grown to understand my moods, my personality. I'll say personality because I'm really not moody. Sometimes I just don't feel like talking. Um, and sometimes there isn't any explanation for why I don't feel like talking. I can just wake up one morning and my energy might be low and I just don't feel like talking. That's why I don't like this time of year because it's dark when I wake up now and it's getting cold and it's really annoying. So Kay said, I've had people tell me, hey, If I get quiet, it's just me thinking. I can, yes, CK, that's exactly what it is. Sometimes we're just thinking about everything like turtles, but that's what it is. And I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that, um, that someone has shared with you, Kay, that that's what it is, that they're just thinking. Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we should just tell, like, maybe I should make a shirt that says, I don't want to talk right now because I'm thinking. How about that? Maybe I will do that. Um, but yeah, let me know, let me know in the comments how how you are getting along with your silence. Like, are people offended when you're silent? And then how do you respond to that? Like, do you respond to them verbally or with whatever? I feel like we are a work in progress. And for those who would like to get to learn and understand more about introverts, please pick up my book, Unlocking the Introvert, a pocket guide to understanding and interacting with introverts. There are lots of tips in here about how to with introverts, because we're really not that difficult to understand, and people need to really understand and appreciate that introversion is the only thing it is the way that we get our energy. We get our energy from being alone. Extroverts get it when they're in a crowd. That's it. That's all it is. Yes, we get quiet. We get quiet. I get quiet when I'm hungry. I get quiet when I'm baroque. I get quiet when I'm tired, which is rare. I get quiet when I'm just want to basically like just be alone. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, is it? I don't think so. Anyway, as introverts and deep thinkers, our silence is often our superpower, not a flaw to fix. So please give us grace. Sometimes it's the loudest expression of our boundaries, our peace, and our truth. So tonight, I invite you to offer your quiet moments. They speak volumes. And if this message resonated with you, kindly be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And join me again tomorrow for day 5 on the challenge, well, the journey. So thank you, Kay, for rocking with me tonight. I appreciate you, sis. I can't wait till the 15th. So anyway, until then, stay centered, stay authentic, and please remember your silence has meaning. And oh, so Samlo Ving Life said, yes, wrote me, go hide away. Yes, I do too, until payday or until the sunshine comes back out. Anyway, good night, everyone. Thank you very much, and I love you all. Take care. Good night, Kay.